Hey, Steve.
Hey, Ryan.
We're doing the thing that we do every now and then, like we've made it a tradition for whatever reason. Whenever a new Star Wars or Star Trek, did we do Star Trek?
No, because I never saw Beyond. I never saw Beyond.
Whenever a new Star Wars movie comes out, we do a bonus episode where we talk about it.
Yeah.
And I saw it, I feel like it was like 3 weeks ago now.
It probably was. I saw it
like a week ago?
Like I saw it
We're talking about
right before New Year's.
We're talking about The Last Jedi.
Yes, spoilers ahead, I guess.
Big spoilers ahead. We're going to talk about it
spoil
all.
the hell out of this movie.
Would anyone ever talk about a movie on a podcast and then not spoil it? And just like, oh, we're going to just talk about the trailer. Don't worry. No spoilers in here.
I'm sure someone's done that.
There probably is a trailer review podcast where they talk about trailers.
A trailer review podcast would be great.
Yeah.
I would do that. If I had all the time in the world.
I don't have time to do it, but it would be pretty fun.
Just
and
a trailer.
It's such a never-ending mine of content.
A trailer comes out, you just like it drops on YouTube that same day. You go home, you turn on your recording device, you watch it, you talk about it, and then you post.
Yeah, and then you have like a rating system of this basically just like, yeah, I'm going to watch this, or no, I have no interest. Yeah. We just invented a whole other podcast. Someone take this idea and run with it.
All right, so Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I don't know, man.
Do you think this is the last Jedi movie you'll watch?
No, I'll probably see at least one more.
At least one more Jedi movie.
Yeah,
yeah. What was your first impressions of it? Like
I've seen it once.
Do some of the voices of the characters. I want to hear those first impressions.
I've got no voices. I've heard a lot of people say that it gets better with repeat viewings, but I really enjoyed it.
So you don't think it could be any better than it already was?
I'm sure there were parts of it that like I don't understand the direction that was taken. I feel like it's like whoever was putting it together, I don't know, they just didn't make sense. There were other things like from a bigger universe perspective, like I thought everything kind of fit. There were definitely parts I felt like were pander heavy.
Sure.
Not even from like
and we're talking about the new creature that they've introduced called the Pander, which looks kind of like an Earth panda, but it's got 5 arms instead of 2. It's got a lot of extra arms.
Okay.
That's all made up. That's not real.
Just in terms of like if there were parts that obviously like The Force Awakens was accused of like basically being A New Hope.
Sure.
Just a lot of fan service. And The Last Jedi also has a decent amount of fan service.
Which isn't bad. I feel like fan service it can be good, especially in a Star Wars style movie where it's such a big property and there's so much just disgraceful trash in the past that they need to overcome.
Yeah, I didn't think this one was as fan service heavy.
No, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why it's so contentious. Like some people just hate it and some people love it.
And the thing is I understand like people, I don't know, there were things in there where I was like, some of the
instead of hinting at things, give us specifics.
Sure.
Man.
Okay. So here's things I didn't like.
Okay.
Captain Phasma is presumably dead. Captain Phasma was a character that a lot of people were fascinated by. Is Captain Phasma
Which one was he?
Captain Phasma is the Chrome Stormtrooper.
Oh, okay. The Lady Chrome Stormtrooper.
Now there's some speculation like, oh no, she'll be back. She'll be back in another one. Whatever. But
I was fine with her dying.
I just felt like it was like it's one of these things where it's like you've got a big name actor in that role, so I think people expected something to happen. I felt like basically from a writing perspective, they kind of went at it and said, "Oh, we have too many characters. Let's get rid of some in a completely uncreative way."
They Boba Fetted her.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, here's a cool looking character. You know nothing about her. Oh, she's dead.
But
That's Boba Fett.
I don't know if Boba Fett was really like. I mean, I wasn't alive in 1980.
No, people loved Boba Fett. But
Boba Fett was a one-line head nod. I feel like Captain Phasma was
she wasn't that far off from that, man.
In the writing, yeah, but in the promotion, like, was Boba Fett a promoted character?
Yeah, dude. Boba Fett was a big deal.
All right, I don't know. I know there were toys, but I mean, everyone gets
They made a big
toy.
deal out of every character, but Boba Fett was the one that stuck.
But like, I'm saying is like Boba Fett on a poster? Because like Captain Phasma was on posters.
Yeah, we might have a point there. But I don't know.
Like I'm saying, like when you look
what
at...
are some other things you didn't like? Because let's do that first. Let's do stuff that we didn't like.
Things,
and we'll
things I didn't like.
Talk about things we did like.
I don't understand why Princess Leia is still alive.
Yeah.
From a directorial standpoint, they had 2 opportunities to off this character who doesn't actually, like, the actor died.
Yes.
So what's like now I'm not just looking at it from the perspective of
it felt like they were
the...
teasing us, like, she's gonna die, she's gonna die. She didn't die. And it's like, why did you do that? Now you still have to kill her,
Yeah,
like, because I don't want to watch another movie where she's completely CG'd into it. Like, it's just, at a certain point it's gonna feel gross. Like, it's going to feel like disrespectful, especially especially if she's doing things that are not entertaining or fun. Like, it's like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, the only thing I can hope is like maybe like there was some footage from some scenes that they completely left out that are in a setting that like isn't even hinted at.
What did you think of her as being a Force user in this?
I mean, it's always been hinted at that she had the ability, but the idea of it being unlocked, I don't know if it was suddenly unlocked or if it,
I feel like they gave her just enough Force. Like, she had enough Force to pull herself back in the spaceship, which was a cool scene. Like, I dug that.
Yeah, that scene was like jarringly CGI'd.
Yeah.
I thought.
It couldn't have been done many other ways.
And I thought that was one where maybe in the writing process, they were like, oh, this is really cool, we'll leave it in. And then after Carrie Fisher died, I feel like they should have just done a rewrite. Like, all right, this part where like she comes back, we're just gonna like have this beautiful hand flicker, and then that's it. That's the end.
Right.
And we're gonna cut everything else out, and we'll just reshoot those scenes, and she's dead. That's it.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, her past that point in the movie is like the scene in Kung Pao Enter the Fist, where the master's like, just because someone goes, does not mean they are dead. Like,
right.
She just keeps going and going, and it's like, okay, we're tired of you being alive now. Like, we want closure on this. Like, please die.
And she doesn't serve any purpose in the film from there, except to be like, oh, Poe Dameron, like, you've even pissed Leia off, who's been one of your biggest supporters.
Yeah.
Like, and now she's stunning you, so you suck. Like, nah, I mean, again, I think they could have written around all of these things and tied it up a lot neater. The other thing is like, okay, so if you want that scene in there to show like Leia is like has a stronger bond with the Force than people think, then and maybe they couldn't reshoot this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought like, why introduce Vice Admiral Holdo as this like strong but mysterious leader, and only to have her like suicide mission.
Right. Yeah.
The movie overall was very suicide mission heavy, which I guess I get because it's supposed to be showing like the desperation of the resistance.
Something that I like about the overall movie is that it leaves you like, we're all confused. Like, why didn't they kill off Carrie Fisher? And they killed off this other character that could have worked throughout future movies. But there's something, what I'm getting to is something I did like about this movie is that a lot of things left you like, we don't know what can happen in this universe anymore.
Right.
Like, so much of what we've gotten in the past, couple decades of Star Wars movies is like you said, so much fan servicing. It's like, what's going to happen. You know where this is going. Mm-hmm. And now finally we have a Star Wars movie where like, we don't know where this is going. We don't know what's going to happen in the next one. It's all just out there. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen. Okay. And that's something I really enjoyed about it.
So I'm going to say
it's not like, oh, we're going to get to finally find out what it was like when Darth Vader put on the mask for the first time. Yeah. Oh, so man.
I'm going to say a thing here that I'm going to finish talking about later.
Sure.
And the thing that we're going to talk about later is what do we want to see in episode 9.
Okay.
The thing I'm going to say right now is my biggest gripe with Vice Admiral Holdo dying is now they have to introduce a new leader of the Resistance in episode 9 because I don't think Poe Dameron is the leader. Like, I don't think he's a leader. Like,
what if there isn't a resistance in 9?
Maybe there isn't. I mean, the entire resistance is on the Millennium Falcon.
I mean, they made it seem like there's like nobody left.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the rest of the galaxy's like got our backs now. And they're like, hey, you guys, we remember we like you. But it's like, there's barely anything left.
Another thing
like if they come back with next episode, it's like, oh, we've got just planets of people in the resistance now. It's gonna be like, oh, come on. You got to build from the bottom up, guys.
Another thing I didn't really like was the end. I thought that was super pandery.
What happened in the end?
When so things I liked in the end. The ending of the movie where it goes back to they're all on the Millennium Falcon and they're all just going somewhere and they don't really know where.
Right.
Or did they know? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. And then the whole theme, like the movie has a lot of themes, but the biggest theme is like that ultimately like you boost things up to legendary status, but really they're not as good as you think. Sure. In fact, one of my coworkers said that this movie is actually a troll job on Star Wars fans because, again, the theme is
this isn't as important as you think it is.
This isn't as important as you think it is. Everything that you say about this universe is a lie. Like you keep saying things that you think are facts about the universe, but everything you say isn't true.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing with Yoda blowing up the sacred books or whatever is just like, why do you care about this so much?
Yeah, only apparently he didn't actually blow them up because Rey has them on the Millennium Falcon.
Right. But it's like figuratively he did. It's like as far as Luke Skywalker is concerned, he's like Yoda just showed up and said like, it doesn't matter if there's Jedis or whatever.
Yeah, I actually thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I thought that hesitance was really interesting because that's kind of like, that's the same struggle that Kylo Ren has with when he's supposed to blow up his mom and he doesn't. And like his wingman doing it for him.
Yeah. I'm starting to remember everything that happened in this movie. It was a lot of
stuff. So anyway,
the
ending, there was a lot going on.
It felt there was a big thing I didn't like about it is that there's so many periods of it where I would sit there and I'd be like, this movie's going on forever. This feels like a really long movie. And I don't think it was because of how much they crammed in there. It was just certain things took way too long.
Yeah.
Like I thought like the whole, like on the island with Luke thing took way too long. Like if that had been done, in the 70s or 80s by George Lucas, it would have been 4 minutes long. And instead it was like 40 minutes long.
I would say, so we were talking about the ending is, so the theme is that, legends like that these stories get told. So it goes back to the casino and you have the one kid retelling the Battle of Crate to the other kids, like using straw dolls, corn dolls, whatever, corn husk dolls or whatever. And then the guy comes in and whatever. And so
they're action figures, Steve.
Whatever. So there's your legends thing. And then the one kid runs out and he force pulls the broom to himself and starts sweeping.
Right.
That should have been the end. Just leave it there. But no, instead that kid has to like sweep a little and then walk over to the gate and look up at the sky and see a spaceship like going into hyperdrive. And then he looks down and he's got whatever the Rose's ring, rebellion ring,
right?
And it's like, come on, like, so your message here is like, oh, the rebellion will never die as long as there's oppressed people. Like, I get it. You don't have to be that like that obvious about it. You could have just shown the kids telling the story that. The kid's telling the story of Luke Skywalker doing this amazing thing. Well, that's like, already the seeds of rebellion.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, you
don't have to spell it out.
Is that the Last Jedi? Because we don't know what's going to happen
also,
to Rey.
You don't need to spell it out that hard because it doesn't make any sense. Because Episode 9 is not going to be 20 years in the future when that kid grows up.
Yeah,
like it's going to be like,
and we already know we don't want a Star Wars movie with a kid around.
Yeah, everyone hates those guys. It felt very Ewoks to me.
There's a lot of stuff every Star Wars movie has always had just dumb stuff that panders towards the 8-year-old who's watching.
Right.
And this had those cute little, bird mammal things.
I was okay with the porgs.
I was fine with those too.
The whole Chewbacca's about to eat one, and they're all watching him. I thought that was funny.
I was totally fine with it. The way they presented them in the trailers, I was like, oh, is this going to be the exhausting thing that we can't get away from?
And instead,
but then like the thing that bothered me was, honestly, it was the casino scene, which is a big nod to, you know, the cantina scenes in Star Wars and every other movie. They even said like,
"Oh, this is the worst place in the galaxy."
Right. Like it was a big nod to that. That was a bunch of pandering to, you know, the fans. But then, I mean, and this has happened in, you know, even the original trilogy. You know, pandering to things that are hip or like known within like our current Western 21st century culture, and is to have the casino scene be so Great Gatsby-ish, where like the aliens are literally wearing top hats and monocles. Like, really, like, I hated it. And it's true to Star Wars in that stuff gets worked in, like George Lucas was working in disco songs and stuff like that. But it represents the worst of Star Wars.
I disagree with you on this. I actually thought, like, this is a movie where freaking Rogue One was basically a shot-for-shot World War II film.
Right.
And the original Star Wars films were all just, like, shot-for-shot Kurosawa films. Like, this is a thing that they do.
I know, but there's ways to... I'm thinking of this as from an artistic direction. Like, I would have completely shied away from, like, having that much, like, Earth culture worked into the aesthetic of the casino scene.
Everybody's wearing tuxedos
and top hats and monocles, and all the stained glass is all in like a Art Deco theme. Like they might as well have been in a like Art Deco themed casino in Las Vegas.
I think I'm fine with the Art Deco. I see what you're saying.
They could have taken that theme and made it way more alien, and I would have been fine with it.
I think it's the clothing in the Art Deco is the real. It's the combo problem. I think if you have like Fifth Element style costuming in an Art Deco casino, it becomes a lot more palatable.
It would be so easy to take those Art Deco elements and shift them to be more alien, but it still like hints at like, oh, this is like that sort of style, but in their universe, where instead it was just straight up like this could have been in a building built in the 30s.
Right. So to me,
in our world.
So to me, the casino scene, the casino whole, I mean, it was a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
That was one of the scenes that I thought was also like a heavy-handed pandering about like, oh, the weapon dealers, they're dealing both sides, and it's like, okay, like,
but that's still played into. I think the overall theme I got out of the whole movie is like, welcome to the next 20 years of Star Wars movies. You have no idea what's going to happen. This world, this universe doesn't follow any rules as far as storyline goes, because there's going to be a whole new storyline. You don't know who to trust. You don't know where this is going. You don't even know if the main character is going to be on the side of good when this is all over. Like, or if the bad guy is going to be on the side of bad. Like, we live in a different kind of societal outlook now, where like when the original trilogy was made, it's like there's good and there's bad, there's dark and there's light. And now it's more like, we don't know if this character is all the way good or all the way bad.
And to that point, like,
I mean, they're definitely doing bad and good things, but it's left so open-ended, like you don't know where this is going to end up.
And to that end, I do think that is the
it's an uncertainty.
That is where one of the lessons of Rogue One that was put in place here that was kind of interesting, even though, again, like, I thought the way the casino scene was set up was kind of like, oh, these people just profit off of war and well, hey kids, let me teach you a lesson about how war really works. Like, that was the Rogue One thing, which is, that Rogue One was set up to be a war movie, and what you see is like both sides do dirty stuff in the war, in war, like, because you're fighting for your life, and in turn, like, you're just looking at who's going to give you the best deal.
And there's always been these arguments in abstract, like outside of Star Wars movies. I mean, you have the whole Clerks argument, like, what about all the innocent contractors on the Death Star?
Right, right.
But it's just like that culture has circled around and is inside a Star Wars movie now.
I think that's okay. I feel like I had other stuff to complain about. I think there were just kind of like plot points that would have been more interesting. So obviously, like Kylo Ren doesn't pull the trigger, his wingmen do, but then Leia survives. So that scene kind of like feel like it kind of like loses it because I mean, I don't know. Does he realize that
Kylo Ren is
dead?
like is just chaos, like it, and that's what's interesting about him. Like you don't know what he's gonna do. But I thought the way he killed Snoke was rad. Like
that was super cool.
I was a fan of that. Our friend Davey does not believe that Snoke is dead.
I think Snoke's dead.
I think he's dead too.
Because
if they bring him back, I'll be disappointed.
Did you see my comment on that?
No.
Snoke is dead because he's not as cool as Darth Maul. Because Darth Maul got cut in half and he didn't die.
Right.
But the difference is you don't see him like laying around forever. If
Snoke is dead, the storyline should be that he's weak and seeking revenge, not that I'm back and I'm super pissed and powerful. Like what happened to him was humiliating, and that should continue on as a theme.
Right. And his death fits in with the bigger theme of like the way his death actually fits in the way we think the Star Wars universe is supposed to operate, which is that the dark side clouds your judgment. That the dark side blinds you to the reality because the dark side operates on pride and arrogance.
Yeah.
And, when the whole thing when the Jedi Council gets overthrown in the prequels, their whole thing is like, we never thought like that the Chancellor could have been the Sith Lord because we were completely blinded by our own arrogance.
Yeah.
And that is Snoke told, I've orchestrated all of this because I'm the great puppet master, but you don't you're so busy talking. I guess it's the classic villain trope. You're so busy talking about your plan that you don't see, the hero, or in this case, maybe eventually the hero, but not quite yet, doing their own thing.
Yeah. But that's like, also it leaves him killing Snoke and being the character that he is, being so unpredictable and being so just like emotional, leaves even like, because you go into it like, oh man, like the First Order just has their stuff together. The Empire has always got their stuff together. They're just such a clean, like dark machine that just does things.
Right.
The whole thing's just thrown out of whack now. You have no idea what the Empire or the First Order is going to be like with him at the helm.
And the thing that I thought was
like the whole thing, like I said, keep saying the whole thing is just left with complete uncertainty.
Yeah,
and that's the part of the direction that I really love. Like I think the thing that I love about Star Wars, like, even as a kid, was just like, this world is dangerous. Mm-hmm. This universe that they've built here, you don't know what's going to happen. Arms just get cut off for almost no reason. People just get blasted, and anything could happen, and we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's very fatalist. It's very like nihilistic, and I like this direction for it.
Yeah, I think
where then like once it became like a pop culture thing, like it became very Disney, which is funny to say that now, but it became very Disney, and like, oh, the good guy's going to win. Oh, it's going to be dark and light. And especially with the prequels, it's like, where this is leading. So it's like, there's no surprises here.
Yeah.
And to have a Star Wars storyline where it's like, we don't know what's going to happen is very exciting to me.
I think some of the reviews I've seen say like, oh, well, yeah, this is Disney giving Star Wars the Marvel treatment. And to an extent, like I can see that with some of the protagonists, but I still think they're telling like a pretty convincing. I think it's a very convincing story, and I don't feel like it's super pandery. Again, like I don't like that some of the characters they introduced were like off right away. I don't actually like. I'm not a big fan of the character of Rose, or at least the way that they used her.
Sure,
because it's kind of like.
She was the bomber pilot, right?
No, she was the bomber pilot's sister.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's fine. That's fine. But she's a maintenance. She's basically the equivalent of Finn, but Finn is like constantly trying to run away.
Right.
and Rose is like suddenly becomes his Jiminy Cricket, which is okay, whatever. And I realized I just made a Disney reference about that. But, you know, I get it. The part that bothered me is when all of a sudden she goes from maintenance worker to like
tech expert
to like skip. Well, I'm even fine with her being a tech expert.
Okay.
Because that's her job. She's supposed to be like Scotty, I guess. Like an unknown Scotty, but Scotty nonetheless. Like she's a maintenance engineer and she knows how the systems work.
Right.
That's fine. I didn't like that she was also a pilot.
Okay.
That you're going to send.
I feel like if you're in the Star Wars universe, most people are pilots. Like,
but it's like, oh, you're doing this attack run, and
how hard are spaceships really?
I don't
to fly?
know. I don't know. But it's like you're going to fly this old piece of garbage. I did like that whole piece of garbage attack. I thought that was ridiculous, but I thought it was fun. I thought that was a lot of fun when Poe like puts his foot down and shoves it through the side wall of the stupid thing.
Yeah, that scene was a lot of fun.
I thought the whole like red planet covered in salt, like I thought that was very great visual. One of the things I haven't looked into that some people are trying to say is a continuity error. I don't know. I don't exactly know what's going on, and there's a bunch
is all of a sudden the Millennium Falcon showing up loaded with all your best friends on there, ready to save the day.
Well, I mean, that's just
where like
the
last you saw, you had no idea where they were, and they definitely weren't together.
Yeah. No, it was actually that. Let's talk about that first. I keep kind of coming back to it. The end of Vice Admiral Holdo. It's probably one of the coolest sci-fi scenes. I'll call that. I will call that. Even though I will almost always argue that Star Wars isn't a science fiction universe, that it's a space fantasy.
It's like a Greek drama.
It's actually I've always heard it called space opera.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it felt. It was beautiful. That we're talking about the light speed. Like half light speed attack, like ramming the main like destroyer thing. It was incredible. It was incredible visual. It didn't feel like it fit in the Star Wars universe. Like if I'd seen that in a Star Trek movie, I'd be like, hell yeah, that's it. That's the stuff.
I guess it doesn't fit
because it's like if that was a thing that could happen, and everyone when they saw it happening in the movie, like everyone within the movie. Like knew exactly what she was doing and were like, oh shoot, she's doing that. Like if that's a thing that people think about because ships get blown up and like sacrificed all the time, you would be seeing it happening all the time. So logically it doesn't make sense, but cinematically it was awesome.
But logically, in a sense, like I mean, so I guess one of the spaces where logically it doesn't make sense is that all of the Rebellion fighter craft and bombers are all hyperdrive equipped.
Right.
So I guess any of them could do that. Though maybe you would say like they don't have the mass because they're so small to create that large of a ripple. But one of the differences between
you're talking about light speed. Like it doesn't matter the mass of the bullet; it's the speed of it. You could do just incredible amounts of damage.
Yes and no.
Like compared to that ship, the ship she was on was not that big. Compared to the ship she destroyed.
It was all
velocity.
But like all of the fighter, like that ship is still like
sure.
That ship is still the same, a similar size to a standard Star Destroyer.
But you take all the fighters that died and tell them all to light speed ram it. It's going to make significant damage.
Sure.
Or just put a friggin' droid on there. Hey, droid, go do it.
Yeah, it's
a technology and an attack that. Now that it exists within Star Wars, it's like, can they ever use that again? Because then it's just like they could use it for everything.
I think they kind of do for a sense. The reason I think that's interesting, and to use the Star Trek
and the reason why
comparison.
Let me say the reason why it would work in Star Trek and why it wouldn't get abused in Star Trek is because in Star Trek there's a high value on human life. There's a high value on like we wouldn't do that because we don't want to lose all our employees on the spaceship, and we don't want to just wipe out people indiscriminately with this crazy attack. Where in Star Wars, it's supposed to be like anyone could die. life is cheap. This is just like a broken universe where just despicable things happen.
I mean,
so
to
it's
an
like
extent, sure.
someone in a fighter or like a rogue agent in even a bigger ship could be like, I'm just going to do this to those guys over there. I don't care who's on this. I don't care who's on that. This is just what I do.
Right.
You know?
I think where I wanted to go with it is if I'm remembering, I think warp drive in Star Trek basically revolves around the idea of like light bending.
Right. It's bending space, but it's not the same as
you're creating a transdimensional
anytime
warp
like
bubble.
someone in Star Trek runs into someone who operates at light speed, they're like, light speed. What are you talking about?
Well, and the thing is like you can't like what the maneuver in that's done there in Star Wars, you can't do that in Star Trek.
No.
Like physically you can't. Like
not with warp.
The way their technology works, yeah, you can ram into somebody else, but the way their technology works, you can't do it. Whereas the whole thing about the Millennium Falcon being able to like do the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs
right.
is that
because a parsec is a distance.
A parsec is a distance. So it's all about navigational computing. Because when you want to go somewhere, you have to plot all of the points. Whereas in Star Trek, at least the way I understand it,
I thought the parsecs thing was it's all about that the Millennium Falcon is so fast that it can outrun the event horizon of a black hole, and that's how it cut distance off.
I mean,
by like traveling through an area where space was bent.
Right, but what I'm saying is like in Star Trek, you would just warp through that area because it doesn't matter.
Right, because you're just like bending through space.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, I thought that was a cool example of how hyperdrive technology works because effectively, like, if you want to navigate somewhere, you have, like, and they've shown that before, like when.
Well, wasn't it in A New Hope where it's like, I think Han Solo says,
yeah,
like,
no, it is.
The computer has to figure out where we're going so we don't smash into something.
It is. And so they've said...
So it is canon.
That's what I'm saying. That's how it's built into the universe because Holdo basically says, where I want to go is straight through there.
Right.
This is what happens when you don't let the navigational computer work.
Right. Well, anyways, it's a spectacular scene and just incredible to look at. And just like, I can't think of another recent sci-fi movie where it's like you just sit back and are aghast at what just happened.
Yeah,
like that.
I thought that was really cool.
Pretty good. Pretty good in cinema experiences watching that happen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say because I feel like I've said a lot of positive stuff.
I feel like I've mostly said negative stuff.
I feel like I need to lay into my negative feelings about this movie.
Okay.
Like I said, I really like the storyline. I like what they're doing with the universe. All my problems with this movie have to do with how it was directed, how things were presented. Like things like the casino scene are little deals where it's just like, this is like so Star Wars, but it's bad Star Wars.
Right.
It just felt like the movie was directed more like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie than a Star Wars movie. Like it was missing that feel, like if you could break it down to being like an Instagram filter, it had a Pirates of the Caribbean Instagram filter on it instead of a Star Wars Instagram filter on it.
I think I know what you
just the way that characters were handled and the humor was a big part of that. Like the humor was way off center of Star Wars humor.
Yeah,
it was very on center with Pirates of the Caribbean humor.
I can see what you're saying there.
I love Mark Hamill. He's the best Joker in the history of Jokers. But just his, joke a minute sort of thing going on really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And his character is supposed to be so dark, but everything from him is like a quip. Like,
yeah. I did like the idea, though, with his character that, like...
He was basically Jack Sparrow.
Not only has he gone to this island, but he's also like, oh, yeah, I'm not really a Jedi anymore. Like, me and the Force, like...
He's lost his faith.
The Force is like, hey man, I'm like new phone, who dis?
Yeah.
So I thought that was like a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. What did you think about?
Oh, this was the thing I was going to say before is when he does the Force projection thing. I don't know if that's where
I was about to.
So I thought that was super cool. I don't know if.
I mean, it's new Force. It's a new Force.
The idea of like, so Force projection is like a known extended universe thing.
Oh, is it?
But to do it at that distance, I don't know if it's ever been in the extended universe to do it at that distance. But yeah, the Force projection, like,
he extends himself so hard and so far that it kills him.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know, but I see, like, obviously that scene. One of the things that's interesting about it is that he is wielding Anakin's lightsaber in that scene.
And that's something I was thinking about while I was watching it, which is more nerdy than I think of myself.
Yeah.
But I was watching it, I was like, that's not his lightsaber.
No.
And this person over here has his lightsaber.
And no, so that lightsaber was destroyed. And Kylo Ren knows it was destroyed.
Right.
And he knows Rey has it.
Right.
So he's assuming that whenever Rey got away, that she not only got the broken pieces of the lightsaber back to Luke Skywalker, but
he's
Skywalker
such an emotional character.
It.
He doesn't care why something's happening in front of him. He's just reacting to it.
So there's an interesting theory, and it's just a theory, and I think it's interesting, but ultimately, like, I don't think it's what we're going to see happen. Is that one that well, this part I think could happen is that we're all waiting for, because Rey ultimately, like, she doesn't have her own lightsaber.
Right.
She's always just wielding a staff and using Anakin's lightsaber, which is now destroyed.
And they were hinting at how she's going to use, how she like uses a lightsaber natively, where she's got like that under the fist technique.
Right.
But I feel like if she had a staff lightsaber, that would be natural.
Yeah, so
for her.
is that she will build a staff lightsaber, like an open-handed, like something that like one of the guards would wield.
Right.
And that she will use Anakin's crystal to build it. And that would actually be something really cool to have put into a film, is somebody building a lightsaber, because we've seen
that would be cool.
We've seen it in the Rebels. Not the Rebel. I don't know.
You know
if
what's
going to
happen next movie is really the whole thing is just going to be a drama about learning to read, so she can read those books.
Gosh.
She's going to have to find someone to teach her how to read.
So there's that I think she will build her lightsaber using the crystal from Anakin's lightsaber.
Right. I bet there's a recipe for lightsabers in those books.
The other part of that theory that I don't want to be a thing is there's a theory that Kylo Ren's lightsaber is Luke's lightsaber.
Interesting.
That when he pulled the house down on Luke, that he takes his lightsaber, runs away, and then turns it into...
He like modifies it.
Takes the crystal out and corrupts it to create his lightsaber. And I
don't know. I think that's a dumb theory.
I think that's too much.
That's too,
I'm not a fan.
That's a big stretch.
I mean, that is kind of like how Force crystals work, is they kind of like they can be corrupted and whatever, but that's too much. What do you think about, or do you have thoughts on Kylo Ren telling Rey that her parents were just drunks?
I think it does. I don't think we can trust anything that he says, because he's so erratic and will do whatever it takes to do the thing he wants to do in a moment.
Yeah.
So it's like he could, next movie or movie after that or whenever, he could just be like, oh yeah, that I was just manipulating you to do what I wanted you to do. It turns out your parents are super important, but it's like, that doesn't matter.
Or
it doesn't matter.
It could be that like he has bad information, because clearly like he's had bad information in the past.
But does it matter to you if her parents are important?
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter to me either. And I think that fills in more with what I'm enjoying about this direction, is that it's presenting a universe that doesn't matter, where things don't happen for distinct reasons. There's not a mythology that needs to be walked through and filled out towards an end goal.
Right.
It's more random.
And so in that sense, that it actually fits in with the bigger universe, and I'm going to go prequels here, but in the bigger universe, it actually makes more sense that her parents are nobodies,
right?
Because that gets back to the idea that one of the themes is that,
and there's all this emphasis on parents. What about aunts and uncles? What if she's got really cool aunts and uncles?
There's this really big overarching. It's part of the film. The lesson of the film is that nobody owns the Force. The Force is its own thing, and the Force strives for a balance. So if you just work off of that principle and you go backwards, at the time of Episode 1,
right,
the Jedi Council is at the height of its power. You have the Darth Sidious, Count Dooku, and then Darth Sidious and Darth Maul and whatever. But you only have two Sith, and you have this very high-powered council. Right. So what happens is the Force creates Anakin Skywalker, effectively.
Right.
Who was born to like a slave mom, kind of worthless, who ends up being killed by Tusken Raiders.
Right.
Whatever, right? Like, so she's nobody. So all this stuff happens. Luke and Leia are born. Anakin kills all the Jedi. Whatever.
Yeah.
Or Order 66 kills a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Whatever. So for a time,
whatever.
Your entire Force operation is Vader, the Emperor.
Yeah, you're painting a
Luke
picture where it's like there's a huge imbalance in the Force.
Yeah, so you go from huge imbalance to like almost balance, kind of, sort of.
It was like sloshes.
Obi-Wan's out there.
It sloshes back like water in a tank, where it's like it's super imbalanced on one side. It sloshes back to where like the dark side is dominant, and now we've sloshed back to where there's actual balance in the Force.
Yeah. So right now, so what you get from this idea is that at the beginning or during the timeline of The Force Awakens and around that time, in The Last Jedi, Luke says, well, I cut myself off from the Force.
Right.
Which means the Force is completely off balance because you have Kylo Ren, dark side, Snoke, dark side. You have zero light side.
Right.
Which, again, the last time that in the films we see this kind of imbalance, the Force creates an ultra powerful user on the opposite side.
Right.
Which in this case would be Rey. So that's why, like you said, her parents don't matter. Like, if anything, what matters is maybe there's a thing where like her parents are like, we just want to be drunkards, and we have this kid who's like way too much for us to deal with.
What if they're drunkards, but they're like Force drunk?
Drunk.
Like they use the Force to just
to party so hard.
Like they're using the Force to crush beer cans on their foreheads. Like.
All right.
Something else I didn't like either. The whole scene where she drops down into, the dark side cave or whatever, down in the sea cave.
Yeah.
I was fine with that, but the part of it I didn't like is that there's a whole moment. It was what I was talking about. Like, there's moments of the directing that don't feel like Star Wars. They feel like something else. She has like an internal monologue or dialogue where you hear her thoughts.
Right.
And my wife defends this scene like against me all the time, where she's like, no, she wasn't having an internal thing, that you were hearing her talk to what's his name. But it's still like
he's
the way,
not there.
But the way it was, but she can like talk, she's talking to him through her head. She's telling a story to him through her head because they're talking to each other through Force radio or whatever.
But I don't think that would. Okay, so I disagree.
But do you agree with me that she's having an internal dialogue?
I think it's an internal dialogue.
And you agree with me that it doesn't fit?
That bothered me a little bit too. If you want to do that, then just have her speaking out loud.
Exactly. That character could have, and maybe they didn't think to do it when they shot it.
Because Star Wars has zero narration.
Exactly. And that's why it bothered me so much. It's not a narration. There's no narration in any of the movies.
Or if you want to, you
don't hear people's thoughts.
Yeah, and so this is where I would disagree with like, oh, she's telling him a story. She's obviously not telling him a story because you never see him in that scene.
Right, because when she's talking to him through Force radio,
it always goes back and forth.
They see each other, even if you don't see them. They're like looking at each other like, oh, you're here now? They're looking at each other from across the galaxy.
Yeah,
I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a big misstep as far as the directing goes. Yeah,
I thought
because that was all just a big hint back at when Luke goes into his dark cave and like learns things about himself.
Right,
and it didn't matter to me which way that went as far as what she learned or didn't learn. But that little bit of misstep in the directing was like, is this what we're gonna get out of Disney Star Wars? Is just like a complete departure from the cinematic like
dialogue here,
locked in, like it's the playbook of Star Wars. Like, these things don't happen in Star Wars. Yeah. It's been established that that's not how the story is handled, and now you're narrating and giving us internal dialogue. It's kind of weird. It's honestly a lot of times internal dialogue and narration like that is a sign of poor planning and sloppiness in a movie, and it means that the director or the editor is like, we're not conveying the thing we were trying to convey, so we have to say it manually.
Right. It's a big exposition that doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah. Anytime you watch a movie that starts with heavy narration, even if it's Morgan Freeman, it's like they couldn't figure out how to tell you this in a normal movie way, and so now they're doing it this way. It's not every time, but it's like generally when you see that, it's laziness.
Yeah. All right. What else you got that's negative? You got some more negatives?
Oh man, I don't have any other big issues with it. It's like I said, it's just this overall like failure of direction with it to keep the feel within a Star Wars like playbook. Right. But they're gonna run 20 movies out of this thing before people don't care about it anymore. They're saying that
there's gonna be a 10, 11, and 12 already. Like, slated.
No, I'm saying Disney's gonna make 20 more movies. Out of this.
Because they gotta do the stories in between each main arc film.
Well, no, they're just gonna keep it going forever. It's never gonna stop. Okay. As long as it makes money, they're never gonna stop. Sure. And it'll get really bad, and then maybe it'll get good again.
Right. What did let me think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Overall, I go okay. Like, so are we kind of wrapping?
Yeah, sure.
Wrap up. All right. Yeah. Overall, I'm not going to ask you to put this in a Star Wars order hierarchy because I feel like that's at this point. Yeah, there's too many movies.
I'm not going to even. I wouldn't even try. Who cares?
But
I know a lot of people care, but I don't.
What's your overall take? You on a scale of a scale of 1 star 5 to 5 stars, 1 to 10,
compared to Star Wars as a whole.
Just compared to whatever you want to compare it to.
Oh man, I'm not going to do stars on a Star Wars movie like this. What I'll say is that it's just a recap. I really like the story direction they're going. I don't like the direction. I don't like the director filmmaking direction they're going.
Right.
Or editing direction. Whoever's responsible for it.
And that could be completely different next film because they are changing directors every film.
But what was I going to say? I'm hoping for a Star Wars that pays off on all of this uncertainty that they've laid out and doesn't necessarily tie off all these ends that they're loosening, but leans into a universe and a galaxy that doesn't resolve. And that's why Star Wars will probably keep going forever if you don't have big resolutions. Like, let's get into some actual Star Wars where the wars are messy.
You don't think they're gonna like?
I don't want a bow on it.
You don't think they're going to figure out this whole force balance thing, and that's going to be the end of it?
Yeah, they're just going to finally solve the force. Like, hey guys, we figured out how to balance the force like you balance a budget.
Right.
No, I think there's always going to be space wizards fighting with space magic and hanging out with their buddies on the hero's journey.
And the flip side of that could be, maybe from a force perspective, they find balance, but it doesn't matter because like you said, the universe is chaotic, so it doesn't matter that the two remaining force users,
right?
The two main remaining force users have struck a balance because their balance is to constantly be fighting each other,
right?
I really enjoyed the movie. I feel like I've said mostly negative things.
Did you feel what I felt there were a lot of times where it just felt like it was dragging out and long.
There were
like a certain like story points, like they just dragged it out.
There were spots where I was like, they could have cut this, they could have cut this, they could have cut this. But overall, I didn't feel like it moved slowly. I've seen places where people have complained about like, oh, there's too much talking. But I mean, episode 2 was there was no point in the movie where I felt like I was falling asleep.
Sure.
I'll say that.
What did you think? What did you think of the big sea cow milk tit thing? the sea cow that Mark Hamill milks.
Yeah, and then I was just kind of like, it just seems like
because I was just thinking like, they got those little cute critters.
Yeah,
I think in the original trilogy they would have been similar cute qualities, but there would have been a more like this is a little bit repulsive edge to those. Right. And I think I would have liked to see more of that. Like, oh, here's something that you read as cute, but then you would definitely not hold it in your arms or do anything cute with it.
I just thought they were supposed to be like goofy puffins.
Oh, exactly. They are 100% puffins. But I would have liked to see them with like like scaly legs coming out.
Oh,
you know, like I want more of a Jim Henson touch
right
to the Star Wars universe.
I thought that whole milking the sea cow thing was just there because it seems like we got to have blue milk in every Star Wars movie now. And only in this case it wasn't blue, it was green, but whatever.
Right.
You know, it's like...
And it looked like Mark Hamill was really loving it. He's like, ugh, yeah, that's the stuff I drink.
Yeah, I felt like that was just there for that purpose.
Yeah.
I thought the idea that the island got more and more inhabited was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like, oh, by the way, there's this whole like group of critters
like
who live
nuns,
here. Take care of it. You wouldn't like. We're gonna find out in the next movie that there's a condo on the backside and like people vacation there and stuff.
Right,
It's just gonna ruin the whole thing.
It's basically an episode of Bear Grylls where you think he's staying out in the wilderness for 2 weeks straight, but really at the end of taping each night he jumps in a helicopter and goes to the hotel on the other side of the island.
Like Mark Hamill could walk to the other side of the island and buy just green milk from the AM/PM, but he's just like I don't want to see people.
Yeah.
The one joke, like visual joke with Mark Hamill that I did like that paid off and it wasn't just like so repetitive like so many of the other like bits of humor in there was like you're given the return to the cliffhanger of the last movie where Rey's there, arm outstretched, handing over the lightsaber, and he's looking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's back. Oh my gosh, this is going to change everything. Here I go.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen. And he just grabs it and like tosses it over his shoulder. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like I loved that. That was fantastic. And then the fact that she doesn't like go down the cliff chasing after it, because that's what everyone in the movie theater would have done.
Right.
Like you're just like, go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it. And she's just like, wait a minute, I got to see what's happening here.
Yeah, I thought the whole direction they took with that character of like,
it really just follows what I'm saying. Is like,
worked.
I like the storyline of this movie. The problems I have with it are aesthetic, and they have to do with the direction. And
so
the editing
episode
of it.
9, you just want to see episode 9 wrap with more chaos.
I want
basically
continued chaos. I don't want nothing else needs to fall apart. Nothing needs to come together as like, oh, here we are. We're building a new, storyline that's going to have an ending. I just want more of people. Like, it's like what I say about The Walking Dead. Like, I could care less if Rick dies. I could care less if whoever dies. I like the universe that they're in. If the universe continues, that's what I want to watch. And the universe of Star Wars that I enjoy is unpredictable, is completely like nihilistic and just like dark, and anything could happen. Anyone could die. Nothing is for sure.
So here's something that's like, here's one thing that here's what I want to see in episode 9.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that effectively the Resistance, well, one, it's only like 12 people or whatever, and it's technically leaderless.
Sure.
So here's what I want, and this is how it gets set up. I believe the Gap film, the next Star Wars story, is supposed to be Han Solo.
Right.
Which will feature Donald Glover.
Okay.
As Lando Calrissian.
Right. Is that really happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's the next movie. I know they're making it.
Right.
I think it's the next movie. Leia sends out her signal. Nobody responds. Maybe they just didn't respond because they were busy. Like, not everybody's just sitting around listening to the radio.
Or sometimes space radios don't work so good.
Now, of course, the story will be that most of the planets are like, nah, it's hopeless. Like, we're done.
Right.
We're out. Screw it. What I want to see in episode 9 is Billy D. Williams, General Calrissian, who he is General Calrissian at the end of Return of the Jedi, who comes back with Maz Kanata to lead what is left of the Resistance. That's what I want in episode 9. I don't really care what they do.
Maz is the little eyeglasses thing.
Eyeglasses
she's my least favorite thing in the new Star Wars.
But she's like the 4th build actor on that list.
I know. I don't like her.
They're paying her a lot of money.
I bet they are. I don't. And it's strictly, and this sounds dumb, it's strictly like character design visually. I'm fine with her as a character in the storyline. I just don't. I look at her and I'm like, oh, you're like she's like a weird turtle.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would much rather, and it's just she's so CG that you can't escape that. I would much rather a practical effect and an actor.
And so maybe I don't, and that's the one reason why I don't know if they would do it, because they don't really. They've put so much into her character that I don't feel like they could like necessarily Akbar her, where she's just kind of in the side and she says a few words and that's it, which is the classic leader.
Like I would be into it if they show her in the past and she's like primal, and she's like more animal than sentient humanoid.
No, I think I because they contact her in it, and I can't imagine. I mean, I guess maybe it would be in her character.
Or if they make her a Jawa, which some people think she is.
Oh, yeah.
Like put her in the robe and have it be a rise of a Jawa.
Yeah.
Storyline.
I don't know. But I really do. I really think that's how you fix what I call, which nobody else cares about, the Admiral Holdo problem, the leaderless resistance, is just bring back an old leader.
Yeah.
And I want that to be Lando. That's all I want.
Okay. Sure.
I don't care what else. No, I don't know. It's just a thing I
was thinking. You want Lando in the next continuation of the future story.
I want in episode 9.
He'll be pretty old.
Yeah, he will be pretty old. I mean, Billy D. Williams is like 80.
Do you think a character like Lando would survive that long in the Star Wars universe? Like,
if Han Solo survived until episode 7, why wouldn't Lando survive like another couple weeks?
Because Han Solo avoids population centers. Lando sticks to them.
That's true.
And so he's more likely to get picked off, where like Han Solo, no one knows where he is. He's out in the inky depths of space somewhere.
But at the same time, like, when we catch up with Lando, like he's just running a mining colony. It's not like he's on, like, so he's in the outer rim. Like I'm saying,
he gravitates towards business structures and population centers and things like that. He's more of like a political character.
Sure.
He has to be in the mix.
But that also makes it work with like why, like, and that could be part of episode 9, and the chaos is like, yeah, okay, like your new leader of the resistance is Lando, but he brings with him a lot of mercenary baggage.
Yeah. I think it could be interesting if he comes in and he's more of like a dark, troubled character, but in like a more legitimate way than Luke was.
Right.
Like Lando has done some bad stuff.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. So maybe he shows up with with Benicio del Toro.
Oh no, I was going to say Quentin Tarantino wants to do a Star Trek.
Oh,
movie.
Does he?
Like, I think he would be better if he did a Star Wars and he did a Lando, but not with Samuel L. Jackson. Please don't cast Samuel L. Jackson as Lando.
Samuel L. Jackson,
but with like that, that attitude, like bring in like a Quentin Tarantino style approach to Lando. Like, this guy's seen some stuff. He's done some dirty, bad stuff, and he's just trying to make it through the universe. And the rebellion lines up with whatever he's doing at the time.
Right. Oh, so that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that's something. That's something that I think they could do that would be interesting. Is Lando comes back? He's got, that the Benicio del Toro's DJ with him, who everybody hates.
Right.
Everybody hates him, and everyone's like, "What the hell, Lando?" Like, also, like, yeah, you have him.
That would be interesting if he showed up and he's like, "This is my guy." Like, no one questioned it, and everyone's pissed. Like, that dude sucks.
Yeah,
but he's like, I don't care if he sucks.
And his whole game is, look, if you want me and my army, because like as I've been running around the galaxy taking over planets on the outer rim. Oh, by the way, when you called it, I was a little busy like conquering a planet.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do, because I'm a politician. Smuggler.
Like finally one of like his business ventures pays off, but it's like super
effectively
like he runs like a third world slave planet.
Like this is effectively where like this is a universe where like the Hutts don't really exist anymore because Lando kills them all.
Right. And he's super conflicted about it, but business is business.
Yeah. So he's like, look, like, I'll help you out because Han was my boy.
Right.
And Kylo killed him, so I'm only here for that. Like, I'm only here about revenge. I don't care. After this, like, hey, and I don't know, maybe Kylo can buy me out. Let's see what happens.
Or it would be interesting if Lando is full Empire.
Yeah.
But then
I don't know.
But then he plays, backroom politics, and he's like,
nah, yeah, that's the problem. Is that I feel like we've seen that plot already.
But I think part of
here's how it goes down. Lando says, "I'll fight you because I hate Kylo Ren because he killed Han. But by the way, I'm only doing this if you give me the Millennium Falcon back."
Right. But what was I going to say? I'm expecting in the next movie to see a First Order that is falling apart, and he could be an interesting part of that. Like the Empire is falling apart. The guy running it is so emotional, so brash, and so like reactionary. Sounds a little familiar, right? Mm-hmm. That no one has any trust in him. No one in the First Order is loyal to him. And people are scheming behind his back.
Yeah, I mean,
all the time.
You see in there,
and he could be part of that.
You see in there, like Hux is only like loyal to him because Hux knows that he could kill him at any time.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely like the potential for a third, like for Hux to have developed like a third faction, which would have been where, Captain Phasma could have been worked as a character.
We're spending too much time on like what could
future
happen.
Questing.
I super don't care.
All right.
Honestly, like after walking out of after the Last Jedi, it was so long and it felt so drawn out, and I was so like burned out on the directing in it and that Pirates of the Caribbean like gloss that it had.
Right.
I was like, I don't know if I'm excited to spend money to watch another one of these in the theater. So
no, I was pretty excited.
I'm going to wait to see what the next trailers look like when new ones come out, and I'll probably watch them, but I'm not feeling excited about them, which is kind of my review, I guess.
I guess maybe to an extent, like I can see that. Like I'm not like super crazy about it.
Right.
In the way that I was between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but I think I'm excited from a like, I want to know where this goes.
Sure.
Whereas between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, it was like, oh, Luke's back. Cool.
Yeah. Something I said to my wife and a few other people after watching it is that a few of the storylines in there would have worked much better, and they could have slimmed down the movie and moved those storylines into a standalone TV series, which I think they're talking about making a Star Wars TV series. I think there's potential there for, and there's really good TV being made right now. Like the new Star Trek TV show has incredible effects in it and looks so good and is actually really fun to watch. If they did that with a Star Wars TV show, I'd for sure be watching it. And it like all that stuff that dragged would make more sense in an episodic, like serialized sort of TV show where it's like, okay, let's find out about the drama between this character and that character and how long it takes to resolve it.
And that is the nice thing. That is the one like really nice thing about.
We could watch a series where we get to watch the rebellion get built up in between the flagpole movies.
Right. Oh, except if Episode 9 set up the same way as Episode 8, it'll be like hours after the conclusion. But yeah. Right. I agree, and that is one of the neat things about...
It's a whole universe, it's a whole galaxy. We don't have to know about the characters that are in direct relation to the characters in the movie. I'm talking about, like, it just exists in the Star Wars universe.
That's one of the neat things, I think, about movies, and even, like, or about TV, and, about, like, the way the prequel... The one thing I will say, because a lot of the Star Wars TV shows that have existed have been animated. And it was like the Clone Wars series, which was set, was it after Attack? I think it's after Attack of the Clones is where it's set. Yeah, it's after Attack of the Clones. So it's between episodes 2 and 3. And yeah, you have like, in a movie, you have 2 hours to tell a certain timeline or 3 hours to tell a certain timeline. And you have to decide, like, you're going to have jumps in timeline that have to be really obvious, or is everything going to be really compacted? So The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are both very compacted, like, not real time, but definitely, like, you're spending 3 hours to tell, like, a week of story, basically. Right. Whereas in a TV show, you have, if you do, say, like, 4 seasons of modern television, so 12 episodes of like a Netflix style, so you're doing like 12 episodes or whatever, you're still going to get 48 hours
Right.
to hash out whatever it is you want to hash out and stretch that out as much as you want. 48 episodes could cover 1 year. 48 episodes could cover 48 days, like however you want to do it.
If they did things the way I would do it, it would be like you get introduced to like a rebel colony in one of the movies or just in the TV show. And by the time the movie comes around that connects with it, that whole show just gets wiped out by a disaster.
Right.
By an Empire attack. Like, well, I guess that show's over. And then they start a new show about a new, corner of that galaxy,
Or what would have been, you could have built into it. This would have been kind of fun. I don't know what all, you build your universe. This is looking back, like episode 7, you have like the Star Killer base blows up some random planet that you're supposed to care about because all the governments that love the rebellion are there, whatever, right? Or all of the Republic senators are there or whatever. I don't remember. But if you had even like a 1-season TV show that establishes why that planet has any importance and some ancillary stuff going around it.
Sure.
And then that set is reintroduced in episode 7. It's like, okay, now I know why we're supposed to care about this.
Right. We're talking about like kind of an Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of model here.
I haven't watched that show.
You shouldn't. It's terrible.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. We've said everything that ever needs to be said, I'm sure, and other people probably have said it better, so who cares?
Definitely.
But this is a fun thing to do every now and then. It's like, there's no rules. We're the boss. We can do whatever we want. All right, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you on the regular ep.
Okay, bye.